Welcome to the Move Local podcast. Our mission is to connect the movers and shakers of the Dundas and Hamilton area who pride themselves on growing a healthier and more connected community. We will do this through having conversations around health, education, entrepreneurship, and much more. We want to be part of helping you move confident, move free, and move local. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Move Local podcast, brought to you by The Movement. My name is Dalton, and I'm excited about our episode today. You guys have been following the podcast a while. You know we tend to have some food-related companies on the podcast, and those are usually my favorite. And we have another one on today. I'm very excited to have Emily O'Brien on the podcast.
I forgot the bag.
Oh, I know. I'll have to go grab them. She did bring product, but I'm super excited to have Emily on the podcast from Comeback Snacks. We're going to talk all about her company, her journey, and of course her popcorn. Emily, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on this wonderful Friday afternoon.
Yeah, how's the day been so far?
Perfect. Got my hair done, got my osteo treatment. Now I'm here talking to you, helping the audience. You know, it's just action-packed life.
Sounds like a you kind of day. Haircut, osteo, taking care of yourself.
Yep. And then I'm going to go to Smash Burger after this from Diamonds.
Have you
had those? Or so good?
No, but it's like on my way home as well. And my girlfriend and I have been talking about going. We haven't gone. Have you been there yet?
Yeah, it's my tradition now. Every time I go to Diamonds.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like top notch.
Yeah, I'm a Smash Burger junkie. I make them at home all the time, like bison sliders, Smash Burgers. Yeah, so they're like small, but bison's really good for you.
Yeah,
I'm sure you know.
I do know that, yeah. But I've never had a bison smash burger, so.
Oh, yeah, you gotta get on that.
Yeah, I do. I want to kind of kick it off with like, maybe talking a little bit about like your entry into like entrepreneurship. I know like the Comeback Snacks is not your first venture. So what kind of got you into entrepreneurship and kind of led you obviously on that path to where you are now?
What got me into entrepreneurship was just like the inability to create within the corporate workspace. And I just felt like I had so many untapped talents and a lot of untapped creativity and sometimes impulsivity, you know, that can lead us down the wrong path, but it can also, you can help you do really good things. Like when you can just work at the seat of your pants. And, you know, I'm obviously a little bit of a risk taker. So I kind of wanted to create something. I've worked a lot of corporate jobs, and it doesn't mean they never worked out, but like I realized that like, okay, I realize the skills that I have and I can bring it to something that's really my own.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think a lot of times people feel like they have that, like they have the skills, but then they're a little bit nervous about like stepping out on their own. Like, what do you think it was that really like gave you the confidence? Is it kind of just like, I can't do this anymore, I want to do my own thing, or? I
met like a lot of successful entrepreneurs like kind of on the way. Starting from 2012, 2013, and then I just started joining startup communities. I just loved the vibe, how much energy there was, people just bouncing ideas off each other, and then the excitement that gathered. I mean, obviously there's a lot of stress, but I think it was more exciting. Like I don't really get stressed out. Yeah. You know, my poor business partner.
That's good. You gotta have someone that's gotta take it on.
Yeah.
And the first kind of company you started was more of like a marketing, social media, like kind of stuff. Like earlier days, social media time too. Like not like it is now.
Yeah.
In terms of.
Yeah, I had like a micro agency. So what I would do is I would like, depending on the type of business, you know, if it was a restaurant, I would like hire a food photographer and then do other content for them, or I would work with like also brands, events, and manage just different accounts and help them like find their followers and stuff like that. It was fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What do you think you learned from like those early days that like you that helps you now with like your company?
That I love hearing ideas and seeing how things are made, how things are done. It's like really interesting. Like what I'm learning every day, it's motivating. You never know like who you're gonna meet. Yeah. Sometimes like I think the most exciting thing was like I used to work at this restaurant. It was like one of my clients in Toronto, and then someone came in and he was working for the Canadian Basketball League, and he introduced me, and then all of a sudden, you know, I was having meetings with Butch Carter and helping to, you know, create the platforms for the Canadian Basketball League, and I was like hanging out with Charles Oakley. It was awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
So I was like, this is it. I gotta do this.
I love it. So I want to talk a little bit, obviously, about Comeback Snacks and the company, but there's obviously a story behind that. So I'm sure if people are like tuning in and they know you, they know the story. But for those who don't know you and know your story, I'd love for you to share a little bit about like your journey and how you came to the idea of Comeback Snacks and what it is now. Yeah.
So the idea for Comeback Snacks started in the most unlikely of places, and that was in federal prison. And, you know, like most people, I never woke up and was like, I want to go to prison. But life got pretty challenging in 2012, 2013. And I'd kind of always been just around like alcohol and sometimes like it was just like, I don't know, you go to house parties for people doing coke, whatever. But then in 2012, 2013, like our family went through a really difficult time. So I went from like celebrating to medicating really bad. And it really put me in a dark place. And I met someone through my work, through my social media agency, who was allegedly sober, and we became quite close. We go on this trip, like I'd known him for almost a year at this point, and we go on a trip, and I'm like, okay, I'd love to go on like a sober trip, because I haven't been on one, because I knew that I was not doing myself any favors at that time. Like I knew that something had to change.
Right.
And we go on this trip to St. Lucia, and he's like drinking the whole time. He's like, oh, I drink on vacation, and 3 days, and I find out that we're actually there to smuggle drugs because he owed these people all this money. And so when he booked the tickets, he like sent them my passport information, so these people had all my information.
Oh, that's wild.
And I was just blindsided. And so I wanted to go home.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean that's fair at that point.
Like what are you gonna do? You can't. There's no one really you can call.
Yeah.
Like and if they find out that you're trying to call, you could find yourself in a really dangerous situation. And
Yeah, totally.
I just wanted to go home.
Yeah.
And like I told him I was going to be really bad at it. I don't know what he was thinking. He was just so desperate.
Yeah.
And there I was strapped up with 2.5 kilograms of cocaine on the airplane.
Yeah.
It's a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
Get caught. And he's with me. He also gets caught. And, you know, after 2.5 years of being on house arrest while it's going through the courts, I was just tired of being pissed off. I was really mad for so long. And I couldn't talk about the case. And I was on house arrest. So I was very isolated.
Yeah,
and,
that'd
like,
be tough.
Really, and paranoid too. Like you don't know who people are going to come after. I don't know that world, right? So,
yeah.
But I was tired. I got to like it was just one day, and I was like, I can't live like this anymore. I knew that I was like a really vibrant person, and that this whole situation was making me someone that I wasn't. And so, I decided that prison was actually going to be good for me, and I looked at it as like a rehab, a sabbatical, and university. And I also felt so misunderstood by people because they're like, oh, you must have been doing this the whole time with all your traveling, and just like really condescending and cruel. And so that actually pissed me off. And so I was like, well, watch me, I'm going to create something really good with this. It was more like, it started kind of like spite, you know, and then it's like, no, then it was going to be more for me. And then it continued to be for me until I met so many other people in prison that were just like me. And I really saw how alike we were, and we found, you know, a lot of, we didn't have a lot of hope coming out of the system, right, and trying to find employment. But I realized, I knew I had a lot of talents, because when you have a record, it's really hard. And, you know, but you need to work when you come out of prison. Like a lot of people commit crimes for financial reasons. So if you can't get a job, it just continues to, like the cycle of recidivism, right?
Yeah.
And so meeting all these people inside prison, food. I was in a medium security prison, so not high security, because obviously I'm pretty harmless, you could tell. So I wasn't put in there with the violent offenders. Yeah. And so we actually had to cook all of our own food. So we bonded a lot over food and snacks. Popcorn was a popular prison snack, and we would put our own like recipes on there. And I was like, you know what, this kind of showcases everything that I'm trying to prove, like how creative we are, how like community centric we are, and the skills that we have. So I was like, maybe I'm going to start a popcorn company and hire people that also have records and prove to society that, you know, we are worthy of second chances, because everyone like never thinks they end up in prison, and then they are. And then it's like, oh, now I can get help. But people commit crimes every day, whether it's like harassing people or texting and driving or something. It's like, you don't know, like that one text that you send when you're driving, you could hit someone and you would go to prison for that. But you never think that you're a bad person. Right. But that happens all the time.
Yeah.
So.
And then what kind of thing? Like once you obviously go through that, and then you're kind of.
Yeah. So it's not like people in prison are just like all these violent. It's not true. Most people in prison are not in there for violent crimes. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's kind of how it started. And what I like about popcorn is, you know, they all look the same, the kernels in the beginning, but depending on the environment, if you don't pop them properly, like they won't cook at all or they'll burn. And so, but each kernel pops unique in its own way. It's like a snowflake. I like that. Yeah, that's
cool.
Yeah. So that's how it was born. Behind bars. Baby behind bars.
Yeah. I remember like reading about this and like your story and listening to a couple of like videos of you talking about it. Yeah. And I'm just like, what a crazy like situation, right? Like, and I wanted to ask you, like, what was it like when you realized, like, okay, like, they were like, you're going to jail, like, this is happening. Like, what was, like, that experience like for you?
Obviously it's kind of like a punch in the gut.
Yeah.
But this is at a point where I was just tired of being depressed. I was tired of, because I was still drinking when I was on house arrest because I didn't know what to fucking do.
Right.
Oh,
So good.
I didn't know.
You can swear.
I didn't know what to do. You know, I was so lost and so alone and so sad.
Yeah.
And but then when I found out I was going to prison, I was like, okay. And then that's when I kind of kicked my ass into gear. And I was like, okay, I'm going to research on where I'm going. You know, like I know it's like planning a trip. You know, except it's not a vacation.
Yeah.
Military vacation.
Yeah.
Forced sabbatical. But I just started planning where I was going, and then I started volunteering at different organizations that hired people with records. And I met someone who had been to prison for that exact same thing. And so she became like my mentor. So I was able to kind of use the resources that I had and my internal resources to kind of plan and figure out where I was going. And then it kind of softened the blow a little bit. And then I kind of just thought I was going to camp.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good way to look at it.
My mom didn't, however.
Yeah, I was going to say. It's funny because, like, not funny, maybe is not the right word. It's interesting to see, like, the parallels of you, like, being an entrepreneur and, like, that idea of, like, I'm going to create things and I'm going to do my own thing and research this and, like, and then translate that over to kind of what you were doing in jail was like, or when you're headed to jail. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to figure out what I can do. I'm going to find a mentor. I'm going to have someone teach me things. I'm going to try to, you know, it's like that kind of innate skill maybe within you, like, showing itself there that, and obviously a perspective that was positive in your situation to, like, utilize that, because I think you could obviously go in an opposite direction as well and have a very negative outlook and perspective of what's about to happen, which who knows where that path takes you, you know?
Yeah, and I was able to abandon my anger. Like, when I abandoned my anger, like, I didn't want revenge anymore. I wanted, like, because there was a time where it's like, I hate this guy so much, I hate this system, I hate everybody, and I was like, created this really toxic energy, and I was like, what are you doing? You know, like, this wasn't me. It was dimming my light, and I knew that I wasn't put on the planet to have a little bitch light. So so it was I planned, like, a lot before, and then I read, like, a lot of success stories, you know, people coming out of prison, people doing things in prison, and I was like, okay, like, there is enough data here to show that it's not true that people just go in and never come out. Like, but I still have to. It's going to be my own experience, and I'm going to prove it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think, like, having this idea of the popcorn and, like, okay, I want to start my own business, to, like, actually making that a thing is, like, a whole different kind of story. So, like, what was it like when you got out and you're finally like, okay, I'm going to take this idea that I had, I'm going to make it a business and develop it. Like, what was that transition like?
Yeah, so I started researching. I worked at the prison librarian, and she would send me, like, scholarly articles about, you know, hiring the incarcerated, and so kind of building, like, the mission part. And then I also read, like, a lot of business books. I read 82 books when I was inside prison.
Dang.
Yeah, so my research started there, and then worked with the librarian. Then I got my mom, my friends to send me, like, food trends, so market research. And my now current business partner, he actually started out as just, like, a volunteer, just helping me, and we've grown so much that, you know, we're now both at it full time, so it's going on year 4.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah, we're across the country.
Yeah, I know.
I got back from Vancouver last week.
Well, that was the other thing that I was like, it was funny because I'd never really heard about Comeback Snacks, and then the reason I saw it was I interviewed the lady, her name is evading me right now. She puts on the Fuck Up Nights here in Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
And I had another person on the podcast that spoke there, and then he had shared, shout out to Barry, he had shared a photo or a video of your popcorn that was there at one of the nights.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I looked it up and I started reading the story, and then started seeing, like, where you guys had your popcorn and, like, how big it was, to be honest. And I was like very cool to see that.
Still growing strong, folks.
Yeah. So maybe take us through that. Like, what was it like at the beginning? And then obviously 4 years is not that long of a period of time when you think about, like, business. Like, that growth, how has that been, and how did you develop to get it into, like, I saw you got MSG.
Yeah, Scotiabank Arena. We just got our re-ups for Vancouver Canucks as well. We got the order in yesterday for, next season.
That's so cool.
So pumping that all across the country, and because sports and comebacks also have a lot in common.
Totally.
Right? So we do really well, and music, and we're in Budweiser stage now too, like in the concessions, because a lot of musicians go through things, and people find music as a way to heal, to make their own comeback, right? So there's a lot of synergies there. But back to your question. So when I got out, I had to live on a halfway house, actually right here.
Over here?
Yeah.
Like the one on Dundas, like right here? Oh, that's crazy.
I know, yeah. So my mom was still in Hamilton, and so I was able to go to her house during the day because she was like an approved person, because the system goes through like every single one of your contacts and has to like see the places you go, which is fine. I mean, whatever. But I was allowed to go there during the day. And eventually I was able to have sleepovers there, like on the weekends. But what I actually started working out, I started working at the gym, Crunch Fitness. And so as I was, because they want you to have like a real paycheck, they don't really support entrepreneurial endeavors right away, because some of them might be not so legal.
Right.
So I worked at the gym, and then after that I would just go to my mom's and pop popcorn. And then I started volunteering and going to events like within the Hamilton community. And luckily, like, I came back to Hamilton because there's also a halfway house in Toronto, but I didn't really have any good friends in Toronto. Like, I had to really go back to where it all began, back to my roots, because those are the people that knew me, right? I didn't have like, I just had like party friends, like or like temporary friends, where you're just drinking together and that's all you do. Like, I think I have maybe like 5 close friends in Toronto, but I have like 10, 15 in Hamilton, maybe more in Hamilton. Yeah. So that's what I would do at night, and then going to these events, and I'd have to get approval. And then the Horn of Plenty, so you obviously know the Horn of Plenty, so they read about the story in the newspaper, and the owner reached out to me and says, like, if you want to pop in here, you can, like, for free. And so we did like an exchange. So he's like, I really need help with my social media. And so that became our first like popping home. And as I was sharing the story with because I knew I wanted to share the story. I was like, no one's going to tell the story but me, and I'm going to tell it from beginning to end. And my friend was a reporter for the Hamilton Spectator, someone I knew from high school. So she it was perfect because she knew who I was. And she asked all the right questions, started from childhood. And it was an 8-page feature in the Hamilton Spectator. And it was a bikini shot too, so that's why it sold all the covers. It's like me and the beach in St. Lucia, it sold out.
Hey, whatever gets the views.
It all helps. Like, I don't care. But 8 pages long, and they were able to track the data online, and they said it was like one of the most read articles of the year, and people actually read all the way through.
I could see that.
So that's when we got like a lot of outreach. Like, of course there's like, the naysayers. Yeah. But I was like, whatever, this is the first story. It's fine. I expected that, and it was just more ammo for me to keep going. And so that's how it became kind of our first home. And so we didn't have to pay kitchen rental fees, but I just did their social media for them. Yeah. So it was great. So that was an important stepping stone. And then like there's a lot of organizations like churches, event spaces that were like, hey, we have an open space here if you want to come, right? So just taking that whole thing and owning it, and really being honest about the situation, like brought in a lot of positive support. So I always say it's a community built business. Yeah, tongue twister.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. And then how do you scale it to like the level it is now, right? Because like if you're obviously your production has to be a lot more. Like I imagine you have a bigger team. Like take me through that when you're starting to get attraction from places like MSG and like that side of it.
Yeah. So we started with the savory with our own poppers, and then we kind of threw some caramel into the mix, and then we realized the caramel was actually starting to outsell the savory. And so this is in 2020. I actually was able to find so we had like 3 employees at that time, and we were in the kitchen, and we were just like over capacity. So I was able to find a manufacturing partner that had our recipes, because like that's how you basically scale a CPG business. You have to have some kind of manufacturing. You can't.
Totally. You can't just keep cooking it in the
and so they have all the safety stuff, and they have way more efficient production. And so instead of the staff then making the popcorn, the staff would help me out at events, which we still do. So we go to like promos, demo days. I'm going to Farm Boy in Guelph tomorrow. Nice. And so when we got that manufacturer, we were able to extend the shelf life. And because a lot of retailers need like a certain number of
Right, to
months.
get it into places like Farm Boy and stuff.
Yeah. And they have like certain ingredients and a lot of stuff. So that opened up a lot of doors. And then COVID happened. But what happened to most businesses actually, the opposite happened to ours. Because I was an essential business, I was able to, like, I would just deliver popcorn to people and like talk to them and be like, I've been in confinement, because people felt very confined.
Yeah, for sure.
And there was a lot of polarization, and it was kind of similar to the prison environment. I mean, I know people get mad when people say that, but like I can say that because I was actually in prison. So so I was able to kind of help people, and so I made these deliveries like really personal, and that kind of started to spread. And so our hockey's like we got into like 400 stores, I think, within that first year.
Wow.
Yeah, and then started just growing from there, having our first distributor, which was the Neal brothers. So they make the chips, but they also have a distribution company. And so Peter Neal, he went through a huge like mental health crisis and kind of found his comeback through food as well. So he's like, I love the story. And so they brought us on, and then they have their own in-house sales team, so they get out to more stores and just went from there.
Yeah. What do you think it is about your product that draws so many people to it? Like, I've tried it, and it's delicious. I tried like the double caramel one or whatever.
Yeah.
And I know you guys have the peanut butter jelly one.
Oh my God, I have to have a debate with you quickly.
Well, I haven't tried that one yet, so I want to.
Yeah. Is it caramel or caramel? We need to take a vote.
Oh, this is a good question. I mean, I say, what did I say?
Caramel.
I say caramel, yeah.
I say caramel. Is it like tomato?
I think so.
Okay.
There's probably a meaning as to like the people that say caramel versus the people that say caramel. Like, there's probably something to that.
Yeah.
We'd have to Google it.
To each their own. Caramel, caramel, whatever.
Yeah. But like, what about, do you think it's like, because the product's very good, but do you think people get attached to the story as well? Like, do you think it's the story that people relate to? Is it a bit of both? Like,
I think it's a bit of both. Like, it definitely started out with the story.
Yeah.
But we didn't have the caramel at that point. So the story was what got in, but then creating more robust and indulgent flavors has honestly set us apart in the market. Like, there's a million companies do sweet and salty, a million companies do butter salt.
Yeah.
All right, and so we found that, like, we have 2 savory flavors now, triple cheese and lemon pepper gel, but we found that having something more decadent, where it's like guilt-free decadence, where you can just enjoy your fucking life and your fucking snack.
Yeah.
And not feel bad about micro-analyzing every single ingredient.
Yeah.
So and people love that, and that's why it makes it good for not just grocery, but like gifting as well, employee, corporate. So we're in so many different channels, which is great.
Yeah. And I think like the story that goes with that makes it even better. Like, a lot of people can relate to that, and they can appreciate like your journey and your path and like what you're doing for other people who are experiencing that. And then they're relating to, like, why wouldn't you want to support a company that's doing that and you get delicious popcorn?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like the story gets the attention, but you can't have an inferior product.
You have to have a good product.
Back it up, yeah.
And that's why I was curious to hear like what kind of differentiates your product, but obviously with the focus on like the good, like not so much savory, but more looking at like the good kind of caramel, peanut butter. I don't know the word.
Yeah, peanut butter, caramel. Peanut butter chocolate, peanut butter jelly, lemon meringue, very popular with the wineries.
Yeah.
And salted chocolate caramel. And then we have 3 holiday ones too. So we have candy cane caramel, gingerbread, and then like a nutcracker crunch. So yeah,
I like it.
Holiday season's already started. It's crazy. It's we're already getting pre-orders for holidays.
Wow.
I know. It's melting outside.
Yeah. I would love to hear about like the other side of like, hiring people who have been through a similar situation as you. Like, how has that gone? Is that something you guys are still doing that sort of stuff? So like, take me through a little bit of what that looks like for
Yeah. So number one, it's like obviously Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So when we look for stuff, you want to look for someone like that has like their basic needs met, because it's very hard to hold down anything if you can't afford, if you don't have like a residence or something like that, and that's like kind of the responsibility of Corrections Canada and the person, and we have like resources to help those people. But what we've noticed is that it's harder to like create stability, but it definitely helps give them a stepping stone, right? Because it does create like some sort of safety net for them. But that's been more like kind of like a stepping stone as they kind of go and find housing. Then we have like a couple long-term ones as well that kind of have been with us since like day one. So they come. I've been training them in different areas, but a lot of them are events and just like talking to people, giving someone else the chance to share their story and feel heard is like a really empowering thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's a really great way to make someone feel like they're actually contributing to the company and they're contributing to like you should see like the smiles on their faces when like they're talking to people.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that.
Right.
Yeah.
So and I trust them with my life, and just giving people that trust when they're often told that they're not trustworthy. They're so reliable. So it's like there was a study that was done by John Howard, and it assessed candidates with records and without records in the workplace, and it said that candidates with records often perform just as well or even better than people without.
Yeah. And I could see how they would feel like comfortable with you and like relating to you, knowing that, like having like almost this like some type of common ground where they're like, okay, I know that you've been through a similar situation that I have, and there's some relatability and trust built there. I feel like and this is me insinuating things, but like I could see how like if someone who was coming from being in jail and trying to get back on their feet, and they might feel like some sense of judgment or like people looking at them in a different way if they don't know what they've been through. You know what I mean? So like having that kind of relatability with you, I bet you there's some like they feel maybe a little bit more safe in terms of. And
even people struggling with addiction, like we become like a close family, and then work also becomes like a safe, sober place, and it makes them feel productive. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And like I'm so like. And some people come for a little bit and then they move on or they move out of town, and like that's fine. And then I'm happy to write them like reference letters and stuff like that. So, and we're still learning as we grow too, right? So as the company grows, we kind of want to grow the impact. And so what we've done, because I want to hire more people, but you just can't, you can barely hire yourself. I mean, the startup world. Oh yeah. You're like, every time you do payroll, you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
But it's like, so now it's partnering with other organizations, like employment organizations, and like I work with Canadian Hospitality Academy in Toronto, and they have a whole program for candidates that have records to get front of house, back of house training in restaurants, and then they come out with a job at like one of Toronto's top restaurants. So it's like, and then John Howard Society, Pivot, like places like Pivot in Baltimore and like Weld in Seattle, Fortune Society in New York. It's like I'll do talks to their audiences and kind of teach the comeback program.
Yeah.
So.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a couple rapid fire questions.
Okay.
The first one's going to be around the popcorn. So like what is like your favorite version of comeback snacks?
Peanut butter chocolate, peanut butter chocolate, peanut butter chocolate all the way.
Okay, cool. I love it. Favorite local coffee shop in Hamilton?
Detour.
Okay. One of your favorite local restaurants?
The Mule.
Oh, that's a good one.
My friend owns it. He's the best.
Favorite local brewery?
I don't really like beer.
Fair.
Sean and Ed's.
Okay, they're right here, so that's good.
They have really good pizza.
They do have good pizza. Favorite way to stay active?
Exercise. Like what kind of exercise?
Yeah, like any
hot hit workouts. I'm obsessed with them.
Yeah, just get after it.
In the heat, in like 100-degree heat.
Yeah. There's something about just like sweating it a lot.
I need to sweat. Like I can't do like yoga and not even like if I do yoga, it has to be hot yoga, so I sweat. Like I can't just like lie there and just feel like I spent an hour and I still have all this energy.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And then the last question that I like to ask everyone, and you can like elaborate on this, is like, what does the words like move local mean to you when you hear those words?
Move local? It means move your local friends' lives, businesses, partnerships, activities. It just means move and work with the people in your community. But local can actually not just be in your community. It can be like, I find like people with criminal records. That's my like local. But they're like all over the world too, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be geographic, does it?
No, It could be whatever you want.
There you go.
No, I think there's something to that though. Like, you can have people who are similar to you in other areas, and you can relate to them. And that's the beauty of the internet. I feel like is you can connect with people that are in your sphere in many different places in the world and have connections. So
yeah, absolutely. And I feel like with locals, like people are more likely to be actually interested and engage with you. It's like it's kind of like working with sometimes these big corporations. They don't care, right? And so but if you go to like a local store that's selling your product, they talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. So It's a lot of power to that.
Yeah. Is there anything you're excited about for coming up with Comeback Snacks in the next like 6 to 8 months?
Yeah, I'm actually building a comeback program. And so this is like directly related to our mission. And so it's a whole course. It's going to run for 9 weeks, and it's going to be for people that have like, really down and out or coming out of incarceration. And I'm going to teach them my path and what I did. Not necessarily entrepreneurship, because that's a whole nother level, but just like kind of getting out and from A to B, how to get your first job, like communication skills, networking skills, all those things that I kind of learned and developed over time to get me to where I am today. Because at the end of the day, I didn't start Comeback Snacks right away, all at once. Like I had a job at the gym, and I was always involved in other things, and so I think that was like integral to my success.
Yeah, like those stepping stones.
Yeah. And how the local community.
Yeah, how are you going to present that? Like, is that going to be an online thing
It's going to be hybrid. Yeah, it's like I'm working with my friend Lucy, and also my friend Cindy might help out with it, but it's like it's going to be hybrid, and then also have like other people come in and tell their stories and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
Yeah,
cool.
It's a way to scale, right? It's a way to scale the impact that you make. That's not just necessarily through direct hiring, because it's very hard to scale that.
Yeah. Where can people find you, your snacks, all that fun stuff?
Comebacksnacks.com. There's a list of all the stores there. If you're looking for a particular chain, Farm Boy, because we're in every single Farm Boy in the popcorn section. It's very easy to find. Select Sobeys. But I've got it online, and then on social media it's at Comeback Snacks and at ems.o'brien.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time.
We made it. We've been trying to get this together.
We did it.
Yeah,
we got here.
It's been my fault.
It's all good. We made it. I really appreciate your time.
No problem.
Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I highly recommend going out and getting some popcorn. I like the caramel version of the popcorn.
Yeah, they're all caramel.
So try it out. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Nice. That was great.
Okay, cool.